A strong message from the Supreme Court on political accountability and respect for women in uniform. The Supreme Court has come down heavily on the Madhya Pradesh government over the delay in granting sanction to prosecute BJP Minister Kunwar Vijay Shah for his controversial remark, in fact not controversial, hugely derogatory and obnoxious remarks on Colonel Sofiya Qureshi, the decorated Indian Army officer who became the face of Operation Sindoor briefings last year. Hearing the matter, the bench led by Chief Justice Surya Kant made it clear that patience was running out. Enough is enough, the court observed, directing the state government to take a final decision within 4 weeks. The remarks stem from statements made by Vijay Shah in May last year, where he allegedly referred to Colonel Sofiya Qureshi in a communal and derogatory manner while speaking about Operation Sindoor. In 2025, Vijay Shah said at an event in Mao that India taught a lesson to those responsible for the Pahalgam terror attack using their own sister. The comments triggered nationwide outrage, with the Madhya Pradesh High Court taking so motu cognisance and calling the language scurrilous and the language of the gutters. The Supreme Court had earlier refused to accept Shah's apology, describing it as crocodile tears, and ordered a special investigation team probe into the matter. The SIT has since completed its investigation and sought sanction to prosecute the minister. But the state government has yet to take a decision. The court rejected attempts to downplay the remarks as merely unfortunate. When Solicitor General Tushar Mehta argued that the minister perhaps intended to praise the officer but failed to articulate himself properly, imagine the audacity of trying to give a justification like that. But, I mean, that's for everyone to see. The Chief Justice responded sharply, saying it was not unfortunate, it was most unfortunate. The bench also remarked that a seasoned politician knows exactly how to articulate praise. The case has once again reignited debate over misogynistic and derogatory comments made by politicians against women in public life. From sexist remarks targeting women leaders to journalists to insensitive comments on rape and women's dignity, Indian politics has repeatedly witnessed controversies involving leaders across party lines. For the Supreme Court, however, the issue goes beyond politics. The bench stressed that statements targeting a senior army officer are not just offensive to an individual, but also undermine the dignity of the armed forces and public institutions. I'm being joined at this point by Major General Rajan Kochar, Dr. Rajiv Nanda, who's a senior advocate at Supreme Court. Also, Major General Rajan Kochar, I'm so used to having you, and everyone in the country is so used to seeing you speak about such issues so strongly. Let me just introduce you as the defense expert as well. Rekha Agarwal, women's rights activist and advocate. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining me. Major General Rajan Kochar, just straight to you first. I mean, look at this, the audacity, one, to make a comment like that. Two, the not to follow court proceedings for prosecution. No sanction all these months, no sanctions at all. The court has had to come down very, very strongly.
Compliment you and your channel that you are bringing out this debate in the open now. And it directly concerns the morale of the armed forces. It concerns the image of the armed forces, and it concerns the women in particular who are serving the armed forces. So I think we need to condemn this statement by this minister. I'm surprised that why he is still a minister. He should have resigned by now, because there is some moral accountability also as part of our constitution, and we are, you say, I'm not expert of the constitution. We have a legal expert on the channel. He may like to comment on that. But I think it is something we as a nation and we as a citizen of the country have to be ashamed of the kind of political leaders we have who make such statements. It has got nothing to do with a particular party. It has to do with the mind of that individual, his thinking, and why is he in this political chair even today, in spite of having such a kind of racist thoughts in his mind. Because it sends a very wrong message to the rank and file in the country today. Because because I go to a number of universities and colleges. I speak to the students and all. Is this the type of leaders we want in our country today? It's a question mark, because you see, I'm not going to raise any uh, I'm opinionated your comments. I just want to comment on the kind of statements this minister is making, and what kind of accountability he has to his oath of allegiance which he took as a minister. Because when you take an oath as a minister, you uphold the values of the constitution, you uphold the values of uh, your appointment as a minister, and you are you influencing a large number of your
Right.
own people who have voted you to power. So, what kind of message are you sending to the people of your constituency? Because this is not a political debate, Sneha. It is a debate on the image of the Indian Army. It is a debate on the secular nature of the Indian Army,
And
because
and and
we
and
don't.
and the truth is, which minister would even, first is to be able to dare to make a statement like this. But the other side is also, it's not just about the obnoxiousness, derogatory remark. It's also which minister would make a comment like this about a male officer speaking. So there are two aspects to it. Army doesn't see female and a male. You're an officer, you're doing a job that, and you're wearing a uniform for a job that you have to do. But let me just get in Rekha Agarwal at this point. Rekha Agarwal, I mean, just look at this level. You have three officers who are right at the face of it, giving all the details out of Operation Sindoor, briefing the nation on every micro detail that they can safely give out. And you have not just a political neta, he's not a political neta, he's a minister, sitting minister in a government, has the audacity to shoot out.
What I can say over here, Sneha, is that, I mean, I'm actually quite taken aback by the. In fact, it's almost 1 year now, and now
And to
that we are
nothing, connecting the officer to Pakistan. I mean, I don't want to say those words honestly, but
yes, yes.
to say that, to
Yes. I mean,
bring
her
in
own
the
sister-
religion, to bring in the religion of an Indian
Absolutely.
army officer. Indian army officer doesn't have a religion of her own or his own.
Absolutely.
Your
Absolutely.
unit's religion is
Yeah.
yours.
And that is
Your
why,
battalion's religion is yours. You don't have a single religion, as it were. That's what the whole army goes by. And then
yes.
here you are doing.
After 1 year of Operation Sindoor, if we are still discussing this, and it's been, as I said, it's almost 1 year, more than a year now, and no action has been taken against the erring minister till date. This itself shows the absolute slow pace in which our legal system works, and that why are we still stuck in the the legal problems that we have, that we have to take sanction to prosecute. And on the face of it, this comment made by Mr. Shah was absolutely sexist in nature, absolute misogynistic. He's objectifying women. He's a women, an army officer. She's an army officer. That's it. Whether she's a male officer or a female officer, that was absolutely unnecessary for him to comment. I wish he had just left it at that and just given a shout out to the officer that she'd done a great job. But instead of that, probably I'm not at all, I don't go by what Mr. Tushar Mehta said in the, in the Supreme Court, that he was probably trying to praise. I mean, what kind of a praise is this? It's not even
That's
a
the
level.
most ridiculous argument one can think of.
You can't
How
say
can that
he's
even be said in
trying-
court? I don't understand that. He was just trying to pray.
Yes, so how, I mean, as I just said, Sneha, that, Colonel Qureshi is an army officer. So just leave it at that. There was no need for Mr. Shah to objectify her. And such kind of a statement is unnecessarily, lowering the dignity of women, the dignity which has been protected under the Constitution.
Right.
That there's no difference. Article 14 says there's no difference between a man and a woman.
Absolutely.
Rather, Article 15 says that women should be given positive discrimination just to further them in society. Where they should not be taken as the weaker sex. Now, having said that, I said that all I can say was here that there is no question of pardoning the erring minister. the kind of apology that he has given is too
No,
little and too
but the
late.
fact remains,
Yes.
and I'm sure Colonel Sofiya Qureshi and so many other officers are busy doing what they need to do. I'm sure they don't really have the time and the mental framework to, you know, go after this Neta who really has a loose mouth, who's
Yes.
a motor mouth for all he is. But
Absolutely.
Dr. Rajiv Nanda, here's what I really want to ask you. The court has been told he gave an apology. The court has said political leaders are very articulate, they know what they have to speak. If it was an error, he should have apologized immediately. Put this in context for us.
It is not the question of putting an apology at this moment. We must understand this country is run by a rule of law, and the Supreme Court is the custodian of rule of law. If the Supreme Court in January had granted the Madhya Pradesh government 2 weeks' time to take a decision whether to prosecute or not to prosecute, mind it, the Supreme Court only directed them to take a decision to prosecute. There is a difference between prosecution and conviction. This
Yes.
is not trial. Supreme Court has not convicted him. The common man in India has this faith in the rule of law. If Supreme Court was lenient enough to give them 2 weeks, it has been almost 5 months now. If this kind of extra leniency is granted to the executive, the people will lose faith, in my view, in the rule of law. So it is not the question of a woman here. Of course, it is the question of army and a women decorated women officer. But I am saying anyways, if some direction has been passed by the court of law, highest court of law, the executive has to show respect and is bound to follow those. At the moment, the question is not to convict him or not to convict him. The question is, should he be prosecuted or should he not be prosecuted? All these kind of questions, all these kinds of statements, these are making fun of the highest court. That perhaps the minister wanted to praise the women or praise the officer. I mean, what is the impression that we are giving to the common man here? That we have no respect to the orders of the highest court? And in my view, the court can take a decision by itself to overrule the discretion now left with the government that enough is enough. We've given you enough time. Now we exercise power under 142 and direct you that you should be prosecuted. And
Okay.
that should be enough, not words.
Okay. All right. I do want to go to Advocate Rekha Agarwal for a very important thing and to bring it into the larger picture of how it's just across party lines, political netas. But before that, very quickly, Major General Rajan Kochar, my last question to you would be, how does army look at these things? I mean, does it have the time to look into these things? Firstly, but it's of course it shows the culture of politics in very poor light. It shows the minister in very poor light. It shows the government in very poor light, because at the end of the day, the government is also not given sanction for prosecution. That's one part of it. But how does the army look at such instances?
You see, the structure of the army is such that the army is a very disciplined organization, and generally the army will not raise any statements in the public as far as this is concerned. But certainly the army has given its viewpoint and has objected to this kind of a statement to the defense ministry and to the defense minister to take appropriate action, because you see the army will not come in the public domain. You will not expect the chief of the army staff to give a statement and start condemning the minister, because the army has got a particular way of functioning. Because I've been in the army 37 years, I can tell you from experience that we don't get into the public domain and we don't start criticizing a particular government in a particular state. We would raise this objection in a very formal manner with the consent of the chief of the army staff. And I'm sure, and I have absolutely no doubt about it, that a strong statement or a strong worded communication would have gone to the defense ministry to take appropriate action, because there are channels available within the ministry to take it to the appropriate level. But it seems, I would just like to conclude my argument, it seems that it has not worked. Because if it would have actually worked, this minister wouldn't have been in his chair today. He would be very much
Absolutely. I agree with you, sir.
prosecuted.
I completely agree with you. Rekha Agarwal, just one thing, we have all these graphics on how there have been repeatedly these remarks across party lines of people who have made very obnoxious statements against whether it be women netas or women colleagues whatsoever. Uh, can there be a deterrent to this motor mouth culture of political netas?
I do think that, if the Supreme Court has come down so heavily, on the Madhya Pradesh government for not, taking, giving the sanction till date, even though, as Rajiv just pointed out, that this was a warning given to them way back in January, and today we are in the month of May. So I think that it is high time, and as the CGI himself said, enough is enough. If people are just going to, shoot out from their mouths without thinking at all about the way they're lowering the dignity of women, then their remarks are so sexist, so misogynistic, and they're absolutely objectifying women. When our netas, they are public servants, and when as holding such a big public offices, the whole world, the whole country is looking up to them. And now if a remark like this is made, I do think that. Of course, as Rajiv also just pointed out, that the rule of law has to follow. And though the Supreme Court has the power under Article 142 to give what is called complete justice, so complete justice will only be given if the Supreme Court suo motu, like takes note of this, and under 142, gives the sanction for prosecuting and probably even take action. Why should this man like this Neta, given the benefit of a trial? He doesn't need a trial at all, because this is a statement that he has made on a public forum. So there can be no justification. There can be no kintu parantu, no ifs and buts to it. He said it. He said it. So there is no justification for making the statement, whether in his own opinion he was praising the concerned officer, or whether he was demeaning her, whether he was lowering her dignity, whether he was trying to say, are being a woman, she has done this. It was absolutely left-handed and below the belt compliment.
Right.
What are you trying to point out? That she's a woman, she couldn't have done it. Number two, she belongs to a particular religion. So therefore, what is he trying to tell the other country? That it is just instigating violence for nothing, communal hatred in our own country. So I think that strict action should certainly be taken, immediately should be taken. More than 1 year since Operation Sindoor, no action has been taken till date. And such kind of thing as, now ultimately what happens? Another thing, if the sanction is given, 4 weeks time has been given. Sanction is given to prosecute. He's not been found guilty. There's a long way between.
But at least the process can start here. We are not even allowing it to start. That's a big challenge.
Yes. So
that's a big challenge. I think the only reason why we really want to bring this debate out, one, because it should not get buried. These are stories that need to get discussed. These are stories that the country needs to be aware of. And these are the stories that I very strongly believe must earmark politicians, must earmark so-called elected representatives, that they cannot afford to be motor mouths in this sense. I think India is reaching that stage where this is going to be unacceptable. It cannot be acceptable, and especially no government can back this at any point. Thank you very much, Major General Rajan Kochar, Dr. Rajiv Nanda and Rekha Agarwal. Thank you so much for joining us.